Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 2 of the Arizona Birdwatchers. This week we're going to be taking a look back at all the stuff we covered last week. Pretty much you can just tell us if I was right or wrong, or, I'll probably be making a lot of fun of myself too. So this week we're going to dive into our big game, Bears versus Cardinals in Chicago. Quick little side note, David is not here today. David saved a baby from a killer bear, and then he walked that baby 60 miles back to his mom. So he's pretty out of it for today. So it's just going to be me riding solo, riding dirty and solo, if you will. And, see if it was if David's the magic or not, or maybe just together we have some wonder twin connection that makes us magic. Really quick from last week, just want to do a couple fact checking things. First and foremost, let me just be clear. David and I had made a joke about him being a sex offender, and I'm pretty sure everybody thought it was a joke, but just so we're all on the same page, David is not a sex offender. Uh, you know, just don't want anybody to get the wrong idea about that guy. Then I also made the mistake of saying Michael Floyd, if we'd be lucky to have him back this year. I meant game one, and clearly he came and had a very small role in game one, and we were glad to see him. Glad to see him there. I'd like to first go over, just for some fun stuff, how my fantasy team did this year. Or not this year, on the first game. So, in the last couple of years, I've been pretty unlucky at fantasy football. But this year, I was ready to go and won both my games in both my leagues. Pretty exciting about that. Uh, you know, Antonio Brown really came through for me in one league. I think my biggest upset that people weren't expecting was Carson Palmer. I'm usually not a big fan of getting your own team on your roster because I don't like to have them in bad spots, or I'm over optimistic about the Cardinals, 90% of the time. But Carson came through, man. Carson had a great, great game. So this week, I had Andre Ellington in one of my leagues too. I have to bench him. I'm putting in for Chris Johnson. I think the guy looked great. Pretty excited to see what he's got in store for us this season, and excited to see him get some starts. And with that, I'd like to dive right into the things I took away from the game. Basically, just more like the highs and lows of the game. I want to start out with the offensive line. I thought the offensive line was outstanding for most of the game. Carson, pretty much anytime he went back, he had all day to throw. 0 sacks, which is a stat I love. We can keep that stat going all year long. And I would have to say, I was mostly impressed. Obviously, Jared Valdir is the man. He holds our line down. The Incredible Hulk. He's a machine. But, first round draft pick Jonathan Cooper from 2 seasons ago looked like the dude we drafted, man. He was everywhere on that offensive line. On that first John Brown play, he probably gave Carson 1 or 2 extra big seconds there, coming back around and just smacking the dude down. Oh, it was beautiful to watch. And then, of course, Earl Watford, I think he came in, and I think the guy's making a stake more to be a starter than more than just a fill-in. Bruce Arians does not mess around with discipline stuff, and for Bobby Massey to be suspended 2 games, that guy's got to be in the doghouse. And I think Earl Watford came in and he played great. He held it down. Like I said, no big sacks, no really big mistakes. A couple run plays got muffed, but nothing really terrible. I was a big fan of the offensive line. I think they came in and did way better than everybody expected. Next, biggest star from the game, did exactly what we wanted him to do, was Andre Ellington, a.k.a. Red Jesus. Dude ran for 69 yards, 7 yards receiving, and had a touchdown. He had the game where he looked, like Andre Ellington from 2 years ago. He looked like that rookie that we drafted, that complete game changer. But in the vein of looking like old Andre Ellington, he did get hurt. The reports I have is that he could be out anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. BA was quoted as saying he's day to day. So, BA was said in that interview that he's a tough guy. We think we could get him back pretty soon. So anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. No, the benefit is we don't have to rush him back. We have the depth. Chris Johnson's going to be starting. David Johnson, we saw what that guy can do. We saw what he was out there making things happen. Obviously on that big 55-yard touchdown pass at the end of the game. And then Stephon Taylor, the veteran now. It's weird. Little Raging Bull's the veteran now. Stephon Taylor could come into that third slot, and he knows this offense. He knows what to do. And, he's a strong runner when he gets a shot at it. And then, CJ2K, or as we're calling him now, CJ.8K. He looked great out there. He ran for 37 yards and 10 carries. This guy seems to me like the kind of guy that he just needs the ball in his hands. Just put the ball in his hands, he's going to make plays. He's a former 2,000-yard rusher, you know what I mean? There's a handful of those guys in the entire league. And so to have him on our team, I thought he was out there. He made good cuts. He made strong reads. He's still learning the offense. He's still getting his foot in there. He's still figuring it out. But considering that he's only been on the team for 2 weeks, man, you almost couldn't tell. Larry Fitzgerald had him saying in an interview earlier this week that he's just a true veteran. He came in, he had a lot of stuff to learn, and he's learned it real quick. And it's, you almost forget that he's only been on the team for 2 weeks. The other things that I really liked was our defense. Our defense played very well. They did their job, kept us in the game. They did allow a couple of big plays, which is okay, considering we were playing one of the best offenses that the NFL has to offer. So, that was James Beckter's first game. Everybody's getting those nerves out. We saw the mistakes on those big when we had the 12 men on the field, 13 men on the field, a little JV stuff there. But I think for the most part, we cleaned that up. We got the stuff under control. In the second half, we came and we didn't allow anything really. A couple field goals, which made me very, very happy. Oh, we have a little fun fact. The game for me, not for me, but that was the Cardinals' 9th home win in 10 home openers. So 10 years, this is the 10th year of being at the University of Phoenix Stadium, the toaster, if you will. And out of those 10 seasons, we've won 9 of our home openers, which makes me happy to know the Red Seas out there, they know how to bring it. I think the only really low that I have to have was probably the second and third quarter. The team just seemed to hit a little bit of a lag there. Everything started getting dry. The offense wasn't really getting anything together. Patrick Peterson got hit for his biggest yard. I think Patrick Peterson played great. Don't get me wrong. He played fantastic. And the expectations that we hold Patrick Peterson up to compared to anyone else on the team is outrageous. We get upset that, me as a huge Patrick Peterson fan, I was so upset that he let Brandon Cooks get 20 yards on a pass, but that was one pass, you know what I mean? Brandon Cooks didn't do anything that whole game. And into the third quarter, we started hitting the juice. And I think the reason that, more than anything else, the reason we started hitting the juice is because they got one man's hands on that ball, and that's Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald was exactly who we need him to be. I feel like he's the magic of this team. This whole game, I don't believe anybody had a bigger winning momentum changer than the Japanese fighting fish. Third quarter grab with 2 minutes left for 29 yards when the game was still at 13-14. I think that's the play that really changed the momentum. You saw Larry catch that ball in space, make a couple moves, and then get up and flex his arms. Oh my gosh, when Larry does that, the stadium erupts, and that's exactly what happened. And I think more than anything else, that's really where the game turned around for us, and I think we started giving it to him. After that big play, that got the offense going again. On the other side of the ball, I think the person whose heart was beating this whole game, was the pulse of the game, had to have been the Honey Badger dude. If there was offense, he was there. The dude was like a Circle K. He was literally everywhere you needed him to be. It was impossible not to. He led the team in tackles. It was impossible not to look up and see number 32 in or around the ball. And while we're on the defense, another big guy, I think, who stepped up, finally played the way we need him to play, is Kevin Minter. Been waiting on this dude for 3 years, and the NFL is it's a hard place to play, it's a very hard place to be a star at, and I think Kevin Minter, if he keeps playing like this, if he keeps doing his job, come week 4, everybody's going to be asking, Daryl, who? So, I truly hope we can get that from that guy. And of course, got to give some love to my man, Darren Fells, who went for 82 yards and a touchdown. I have been looking forward to Darren Fells exploding since he got on the team last year. The guy's a former European basketball star, and he comes back. His brother actually, I think he still plays for the Giants. His brother played for the Giants last year. I think he still plays for the Giants. Who's also a tight end. He's got hands for days, and I think we saw today what kinds of things we can expect from him this year, and what it's like to have tight ends that can make play. I mean, with the game Darren Fells has, you almost forget that we have Jermaine Gresham, who the guy's a stud, a 2-time Pro Bowler, played in Cincy forever, and between those two guys, and when Nicholas comes back to be healthy, I think we have some really good depth in at tight ends, and I think we're gonna see that position play out a lot more this year. I am kind of curious to see what's gonna happen when Michael Floyd comes back, because right now, I mean, it was almost like, did we even need him out there yesterday? And when he's in the game, I think he would have made up for those J.J. Nelson drops, because J.J. Nelson, he got some hard balls thrown his way, and he's just young and he's too weak and almost anorexic looking with his 108-pound frame body. I don't think he's ready to be combating other dudes for those catches. But I think if those are Michael Floyd's ball getting that, he's going up and he's coming down with that. The guy can catch in traffic. And finally, I think the guys who had the two most exciting plays of the game, first off, it's got to be Rashad Johnson. The guy puts the inconsistency. He grabbed the first play of the season. Oh, he grabbed the first of the season, I think, grabbing that ball 2 inches before it hit the ground, putting it up and getting some yard. You know what? Honestly, because it was Rashad Johnson, I thought he was going to run it back. I thought the guy was going to take it to the house. We'll never know next time, but dude, complete game changer. And then, of course, while we're on Johnson, David M.F. Johnson, the poor man's Adrian Peterson. He had that beautiful fourth quarter 55-yard touchdown, which closed the game out. I'm really excited to see this guy develop. As my friend Brandon always says, yeah, he's the poor man's Adrian Peterson. But after what we saw Monday in that Niners-Viking games, he might just be the next Adrian Peterson. David Johnson, good job, man. Electric play. And next, I'd like to get into a segment I like to call Why Should We Be Scared of Your Team? Basically, what I do is I head on over to Reddit, post on our Bears, the Bears. And, sorry, dude, you have to do one, the Bears, if you're playing the Bears. I post on there and I ask, somebody who's a big fan of the Bears for them to give us a breakdown of the strengths and weaknesses of their teams. Basically, just let us know why should we be terrified of their team. This week I got a lot of help from the Great Wait. He says, I believe if the Chicago Bears are successful running the football, they have a chance of competing with the Arizona Cardinals for a victory in Week 2. The Bears may be able to manage the clock in this game if they can utilize Matt Forte and Jacquizz Rodgers. If Forte has another spectacular week and Rodgers can play like he did in Atlanta, with a career average of 3.7 yards per reception and 7.1 yards per carry, the Bears may be able to stick with Arizona. Once again, this is a team, I think, underestimating our front seven, which Mark Ingram got a little bit of wiggle room, don't get me wrong, but we did not break. We bent, but we did not break with that guy. Kept him under 100 yards. Nothing really spectacular except for a couple of plays. I think our front seven is learning. They're learning to play together. We had Rodney Gunter in there, which I think he played pretty well considering he was going against Max Unger, one of the best centers in the NFL. I think everybody came to do what they were supposed to do. Once again, like I said, Kevin Minter played really strong. Sean Weatherspoon was in there a lot. I saw even old Lamar Woodley in there making some stuff happen. The Great Wait also adds, the passing game must be more effective. That's what we in the biz call an understatement. Especially in the red zone. Jay Cutler will need to minimize the mistakes and be more accurate on mid to downfield throws to keep the Bears scoring against the Arizona defense. I don't know, man. Dream big. No, I don't want to make this too harsh. He's right. That is a good idea. But out of Alshon Jeffrey and maybe Eddie Royal, Martellus Bennett, the Bears don't really seem to have a very strong offensive weapons. I think the Saints had way more weapons going for them, and we held all those guys in check. I don't foresee a big problem of them coming at us, through the air. Lastly, the Great Wait says, if the Bears want to win, they will need to stop the run. Make Palmer throw and take advantage of those throws. No turnovers for the Bears in week. No turnovers for the Bears in week 1 lose. Sorry, man. I'm from Arizona. I have a little hard time deciphering the Chicago language. I think basically he's saying that even though with Andre Ellington out and Chris Johnson in, that he thinks he'll have a decent day, but not Eddie Lacy good, which is a fair comparison. I am excited to see what's going to happen with that. He says the Bears will yet again miss Jeremiah Ratliff on defense and Kevin White on the offense, which, yeah, those are two huge players to not have on your team. You're kind of sad to hear about Kevin White's rookie year getting ruined with an injury, And then a little fun fact, thanks the Great Wait for adding this in there. The Bears cut and then re-signed Sam Acho. From what I read, though, I think he's suffering from an illness, so he might not play on Sunday. But if he did, it'd be, it'd be cool. Cool to see one of our guys out there playing against another team, seeing if he's, successful without us, if we're just going to be maniacal, evil girlfriends and be glad of his failures. So yeah, after that, I just, like to wrap it up here. I think Cardinals are in for an easy second week. No offense, Bears fans, if you're out there listening. I think the Cardinals Worked out some kinks last week, especially on the defensive side. I really hope we don't see any more mental errors, excessive men on the field. But besides that, we played pretty mistake-free football. I think we're going to go into Soldier Field and we're going to throw down. I predict for this game, let's see, what am I feeling? I'm going to say Cardinals 35, Bears 17. I think they'll get a few on us. Matt Forte, see what Matt Forte's got in the tank. My friend was really high up on him this year for fantasy, so figured I'd give him a shout out. And just be aware the game is Sunday in Chicago, 10 a.m. on Fox. So I hope everybody's out there getting crazy, watching the game, sending good thoughts. If a Cardinals fan exists in Chicago, have fun out there, stand strong for the Bird Gang. I want to thank you guys once again for tuning in. This is week 2. Like I said, David should be back next week. It'll be a lot of fun. Tighten the show up more and more as it goes along. You can follow our page on YouTube. It's under Troboat, Trow, Boat, BOAT. That's where I'll be putting all the podcasts up until I can get smart enough to put them on iTunes. And you can follow me on Twitter at TDROW1. So find us, love us, yell at us, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Tune in next week, and we'll have the wrap-up from the Bears game. All right, have a good day. See you on Sunday.